What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here. Following the NFL draft and free agency, I thought it'd be a good time to run through my first 53-man roster projection. I'm filming this on, Wednesday right now, because I'm going to be out the next couple of days due to a wisdom teeth removal, so hopefully no big news happens. But let's jump into my first part of the roster projection, starting in the quarterback room. So the Browns right now have 4 quarterbacks: Deshaun Watson, Josh Dobbs, Kellen Mond, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They're not taking 4 on the active roster, right? 3 is absolutely the max. So, Watson's a lock. I don't say that. Dobbs is a lock too, though. They gave him $2 million guaranteed. They are not flushing $2 million down the toilet to release him just 3 months later. So with that being said, my 3 quarterbacks on the roster: Watson, Dobbs, and they're not going to put Dorian Thompson-Robinson on the practice squad, right? You just picked him in round 5. I guarantee you if you let him hit waivers, a team is going to claim him. So Kellen Mond goes to the practice squad. A team might poach him, but the Browns, I don't think, are going to risk losing DTR to the practice squad. So those 3 guys are going to be on the initial 53-man roster. Now, here's what I want to know from you. If you think Deshaun Watson is going to be a top 10 quarterback, then prove it by subscribing to the channel, because I have been long preaching that the rest of the NFL is sleeping on the Browns because they think Watson's going to stink like he kind of did at the end of last season, / they just don't want to see the Browns be successful. But I promise you that this channel is going to let it be known. When Deshaun Watson is back to being a top 10 quarterback, I'm going to bring out all the old receipts from all the people with blue check marks that said the Browns are going to suck, and you don't want to miss that. So make sure you are subscribed. Moving on to the next room, the running back room. Now, they might add some players here, right? Wouldn't be shocked if they were to make a Kareem Hunt return or another running back acquisition. But going off of just the names and the current players in the running back room, I think Cleveland's going to run with 3 backs. And I think those 3 running backs are going to be Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, and Demetric Felton. So those are my 3 running backs. I know that Demetric Felton is a bubble player, but the Browns need a receiving running back. And Jerome Ford and Felton probably fit that bill a little bit better than John Kelly. I do like John Kelly a lot. It's been good to see him stick around in the practice squad lately. But for now, I'm going to have Felton sneak onto the roster. Unless they add like Kareem Hunt or something, I think they're going to want to pick Felton over, say, John Kelly because of his receiving abilities. Let's check out the wide receiver room next here. So you got a lot of locks here, right? Cooper, DPJ, Moore. I think, Marquise Goodwin, also a lock. The guaranteed money there, they're not going to, like Josh Dobbs, flush that down the toilet. Tillman is also a lock, and then I'm going to include some other guys here. So here are the 7 receivers I have making the Browns roster: Cooper, Moore, DPJ, Goodwin, Tillman, David Bell. They're not moving on from a 3rd-round pick just 1 year later. And I've got Jakeem Grant sneaking on because Bubba Ventrone is going to want some special teams ability type players, and the Browns want speed. Like, that was a huge priority this offseason. They added it with Moore and Goodwin, and they may not stop there. And Jakeem Grant, if he bounces back from his Achilles injury nicely, I mean, I'm not in Berea. I don't know what it looks like on the practice field. But if he does, I think the Browns are going to be optimistic that he could sneak onto this roster and be the return man they were looking for last season. So for now, no Anthony Schwartz. Michael Woods will be on IR, and none of the UDFAs from this year or last year make the Browns wide receiver room. Let's move on to the tight end position here. So David Njoku, Jordan Akins, they are both locks. After that, it's a little bit up for grabs. I'm a big Harrison Bryant fan, but Harrison Bryant is due a decent amount of money for 2023, and they may not be interested in paying him almost $3 million to be their 3rd tight end. For now, I have Harrison Bryant making this roster. They don't really have a true tight end run blocker. I don't know if Zaire Mitchell-Payton can become that guy. Remember, he was a basketball player out of Texas Tech. Great size, but sometimes, you're the big friendly giant. 6'8" players aren't always the best blockers. So maybe Mitchell-Payton can sneak on, or maybe they go add another blocking tight end. But as of now, I'm going to stick with Njoku, Akins, and Bryant. The last spot on the offensive line is the offensive line. So Jedrick Wills, Bitonio, Pocic, Teller, Conklin. Those are your 5 starting O-linemen, barring any injuries. They are all going to make this roster. So then after that, you got to find the backups. Now, last year, if I remember correctly, Cleveland rolled with 10 offensive linemen out the gate. Now, they were able to put Deshaun Watson on the suspension list or whatever, so that opened up a roster spot. That's not going to be the case this year. So I think for now, I have just 9 offensive linemen with James Hudson as your swing tackle, DeJuan Jones and Luke Whipple, your 2 rookies making the roster. And I think they want to keep Nick Harris, right? Nick Harris was supposed to be this team's starting center going into 2022. If he is making a good recovery from that ACL injury, I very well could see him being that next interior offensive lineman along with Luke Whippler off the bench. So for now, 9 offensive linemen making the Browns roster. Moving on to the defensive line here, we've got locks with Garrett, Tomlinson, and Za'Darius Smith, Obo, Ika, Isaiah McGuire. But after that, you definitely have Alex Wright, too. I guess I'll include him. You've definitely got some wiggle room for the next couple interior defensive linemen. When it's all said and done, barring any more additions or anything like that, how about this? Garrett, Tomlinson, Elliott, Za'Darius Smith, Obo, Perrion Winfrey. If the Browns were going to move on from him, barring any new details coming out in the legal matter, I think they would have out already. So for now, he makes this roster. Ika makes it. Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire make it on, as well as a pair of 3rd/4th round picks from the last 2 drafts. No Isaiah Thomas, the 7th round pick from Oklahoma last year. That's a bit of a bummer. I think he's going to have a spot in the practice squad for sure. But as of now, I've got just 9 defensive linemen making the 53-man. As for the linebacker room, a lot of familiar faces, nearly an identical room to last year. JOK, Anthony Walker, and Taki, all poised to run it back as your starting linebackers. Now, big question is, when will Walker and Taki be at least 90%, at least able to play and or start? Taki suffered a late ACL injury. Do not be shocked if he starts the training camp portion on the PUP list. And Walker is a bit of an older guy coming off a quad injury, so him too might be slowly rehabbing. I think the Browns are going to carry 6 linebackers, and I've got my first UDFA making it too. We've got JOK, Walker, Taki, Jacob Phillips. So 4 players right there that all spent some time or end of the year on IR last season. They are going to really rely on the medical staff in Cleveland and the trainers to get these guys ready for week 1. Because if not, we've got an issue on our hands. We're talking Tony Fields and a UDFA Muhammad Diabate starting week 1 against Cincinnati. I am not excited about that prospect. So hopefully JOK, Walker, and Taki are all ready to go week 1. Now, speaking of the linebacker room, do you believe that the Browns should add another linebacker? I was somewhat shocked when they did not during the draft. They still can, but seems like Andrew Berry is doing what he did the defensive tackle position last year to the linebacker position, where he's banking on these guys living up to his expectations, and there is not a lot of margin for error. There's no real big depth that can step in and be a shining star potentially for Cleveland. Now we turn our attention over to the cornerback room. Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, and Greg Newsome highlight this room, but you've got some other good pieces for sure. I think the Browns are going to take 6 corners on their 53-man roster. So the 6 I've got, outside of your usual locks and Ward, Newsome, and Emerson, Cam Mitchell, the rookie, he's going to be competing to start that nickel position. A.J. Green is going to make this roster. And then Mike Ford was a under-the-radar signing they did. He is a big-time special teamer, a great gunner on that side of the football. Also, they threw $2.5 million his way. Again, you don't throw over $2 million to a player and then cut him in August unless there's some great, developing situation or anything out of the ordinary. So I think for now, those are your 6 cornerbacks that make it. Thomas Graham, I really like that pickup they had. They gave him the tender. I think he'll be the practice squad player for this team. unless the Browns have some injuries pop up, which I should have mentioned earlier, there are going to be injuries that happen during training camp and preseason, so roster spots will open up. So if that happens, Thomas Graham might be my next guy up. He's the 54th player on this roster. As for the safety room, Juan Thornhill, Grant Delpit, Rodney McLeod, those are your top three safeties of rotation going on there. I think Cleveland, once again, rolls with 4 safeties. So who's that number 4 safety? It's going to be a UDFA at some point in his career, and I think DeAnthony Bell makes the Browns roster once again. I like Ronnie Hickman. That was a nice UDFA acquisition from Ohio State, but I'm going to lean towards DeAnthony Bell. He made the 53-man roster last year as a UDFA, and I don't see anyone really coming for his job that's got more free agency money behind them to warrant them making the roster over Bell. So for now, those are my 4 safeties. And to round out the 53-man roster, can't forget about the special teams guys. Charlie Hewlett, your long snapper, Cade York at kicker, and Corey Bojorquez as your punter. They will all make the roster, of course. So with that being said, I know there are some diehards out there. I haven't seen Dion Owens in the chat in a while. Poison Pill, you know who you are. Brown Tiger, correct my roster projection. Where did I go wrong? Who did I leave off that you think's going to make it? Who did I put on that you think is not going to make it? Just head down to the comment section below and let me know where I went horribly wrong, because like mock drafts, there are always very strong opinions about roster projections weeks/months out. And the funny thing is, I did this video and I don't even know, because we don't know who's going to get hurt. That's going to be a big factor when it comes down to who makes the roster. Last year, I thought Jakeem Grant would make the roster. And then, of course, he pops his Achilles, and that opens up a spot. So let me know where I went horribly wrong. I'm going to sign off, and I'll catch up with everyone later.